Hey guys, we wanted to start off by apologizing for not posting a video last week. To keep it simple, there was just a lot going on in our community, and we were doing everything we could to support our Captain Chris Lato and the UAP Society. Please send Chris your love and support. Thanks for being here.
Coming up on tonight's UAP news show, Lue Elizondo sparks new interest on Capitol Hill.
Introducing the Soul Foundation.
Bob Lazar spilt the tea way back when. Is he willing to do it again?
And did we just get proof of reverse engineered craft?
An update on the Alaskan UFO.
So there's UFOs, and then there's USOs. Fish aren't the only thing in the sea.
Nope.
Wonder what that's about.
And another upcoming UAP conference in 2024. Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we're back at it again for another episode of UAP Society's weekly UAP and UFO news show. We've combed through this past week's most exciting, intriguing, and informative happenings, and I'm stoked to get started. So without further ado, Justin, say hey.
Greetings, cosmic enthusiast. It's Justin here, and welcome to the UAP Society's UAP UFO News Show. Your ticket to an interstellar adventure like no other. Whether you're a believer or a skeptic, get ready for a cosmic roller coaster ride through the latest updates from the far reaches of the galaxy.
You're in for a treat as we bring you the latest and greatest UAP and UFO news. So find your seats, strap in, and get ready to go on a galactic ride with us.
Lue Elizondo sparks new interest on Capitol Hill. Earlier this week, former ATIP director Lue Elizondo met with select congressmen to provide pertinent information regarding the UAP phenomena. A tweet from Askapol says, news, and quote, "We did have Lue Elizondo today. It was really good. Representative Eric Burleson exclusively tells Askapol. What they presented is very similar to what David Grush was saying." And then they followed up with, "Bonus Burleson, and in quotes, I'm working on it right now. I've got something up my sleeve. I don't want to talk. I'll keep you informed because I got a big thing that I'm going to announce." Representative Eric Burleson tells Askapol. And then they asked, UAP related? Yes, stay tuned.
And then Twitter user Tiny Kloss adds, after talking with Lue Elizondo, Rep. Ralph Norman keeps emphasizing that young people need to know the truth about UFOs. Listen to this audio. This man is dead fucking serious. And we have that audio for you now. Let's listen.
I heard you had a little visitor yesterday. Lue Alejandro? Oh, yeah. That you brought him in? What made you reach out or get connected with him?
I had heard, I'd heard about him.
Yeah.
One, he's an expert. And that's the other thing, I'm going to bring him back. Everybody, you young people, ought to hear it particularly, because we've got a real problem. This isn't playland. He told us about the facts of the matter, about what's happening, and that too was concerning. And he wouldn't give any classified things, as you would expect. But my God, it's I guess we're just going to be unprepared and just take it. This isn't political. This isn't politics. And for you young people, of course, it affects all of us, young and old.
In addition to that, Ross Cohart tweeted, Congressman Norman, after a classified SCIF briefing this week on UAPs, and he says, quote, "It's been portrayed by the media as crazies that are identifying unidentified flying objects, but it's not, indicating that official military personnel are capturing UAP and that this phenomena is legit."
It's nice to see how serious people take this stuff once they actually see the files and hear the information from the right person, because so many people blow this off and just put it in a conspiracy theory box. But then when they're presented information from credible people, their whole worldview shifts and they're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
They're not joking around. And,
right.
One of the things that Ralph Norman said that stuck out to me a lot was, I guess, what did he say? I guess we're just going to have to take it.
Yeah. Meaning that we're
doesn't really sound great.
Right. I think it's one of these things that is very serious. Right. And I mean, he says this isn't politics, this isn't Republicans versus Democrats. This is real world.
Yeah.
I mean, like, okay, not just real world, this is world altering,
Yes.
right? This is a
This affects
world
all of humanity.
altering topic,
Mhm.
and I mean, it seems like there's something coming that they're aware of and they're not telling everybody. However, I think we're in the process of being told, whatever it is,
Mhm.
something upcoming that's going to affect all of us, and it's pretty telling that he says, especially you young people. So,
Yeah.
you know, is there something on the way? I
What's
don't
on the
know,
horizon, right? Like
right?
it
Like,
makes you wonder.
is there, I don't know, my mind goes to all these other theories, right? And who knows what's right. But to me, it seems like there could be like, like let's say, some other race is on their way, and they're going to be here in, let's say, 10 years, I don't know.
I mean, the fact that you bring that up automatically takes my mind to, the agreements that there was certain races of ETs that presented themselves to certain governments and certain agreements were made. We're definitely treading on conspiracy theory territory right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it just makes me think like, well, what if there was something arranged that, they showed up back in 1947 or whatever and said, all right, guys, we'll be back in, X amount of years, and that's what everybody's, kind of referring to right
Yeah.
now.
I
Side
don't
note,
know.
well, not side note, but deferring from that track. I'm just really glad that people are stating that Lue Elizondo is basically like vindicating David Grush. Is that the right word? Is that
Right.
too harsh of a word
Yeah,
to use at this moment?
he's basically reaffirming his statements
Right,
of what
right.
he made, right?
Right. So people are like, okay, if there were any like doubters of David Grush, which unfortunately there are, Lou Elizondo's information is corroborating that. So
Yeah. Also, Dave Grush doesn't say extraterrestrial. He says
right,
most likely they're interdimensional,
right.
so I mean,
The vocabulary that he uses is very specific, so it makes you
right.
wonder like what he
I don't
knows.
think he's actually come out and said that he 100% thinks or believes that they're interdimensional. I think he said most likely,
Okay.
so I
Okay.
mean, at least they're leaving, all the possibilities on the table.
Uh-huh.
But
And another thing, since we're talking about Lou, he's got his new book that's supposed to be coming out soon. I personally thought that it was supposed to be out already, so I don't know what's up with that.
I think they're still getting it through Dopser.
I thought it cleared Dopser already.
Oh, did? Okay.
I don't know. See,
That
I'm
might have.
confused.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
then since we're talking about that, it makes me think about David Grush's op-ed. We were told at the end of last year that this op-ed was coming out within a couple of weeks, and we're midway through February already. So where's that at? So there's that to look forward to as well. Lou's book to look forward to as well,
Mhm.
and new Congress people getting on board thanks to credible people bringing credible information forward.
Yep. And Lou was not by himself. There was 3 or 4 other people, or was it 5? Was it 5
I'm
total?
not
I don't
sure.
remember, but there was there's a lot of speculation out there.
I was gonna
as to
say I
who
thought
it
this was speculation of who the other people were. Right. All right. Go ahead.
But at least there's 4, possibly 5 other individuals that were with him
Mhm.
that are all supposedly very credible people. So that remains to be seen who it was, but
Right.
it's
We'll find out.
yeah.
And when we do, we'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
All you need to know is that the disclosure train has left the station and woo woo, we're
Yep.
heading down the tracks, baby. There's no stopping this. Introducing the Soul Foundation. The Soul Foundation has been a hot topic as they recently released 18 videos on their newly created YouTube channel and made appearances to extrapolate on its purpose, function, and founders. To learn more about this, let's watch as Dr. Gary Nolan and Dr. Peter Skafish speak with Matt Ford from The Good Trouble Show.
So yesterday, I had the pleasure, as I mentioned, of interviewing the Soul Leadership Executive Director of the Board, Dr. Gary Nolan, and the Director of Research, Dr. Peter Skafish. Actually, I think now his title is Executive Director. So Dr. Nolan, what exactly is the Soul Foundation?
Well, the Soul Foundation is first an academic institution aimed at professionalizing and the subject matter of UAP. The issue around UAP, of course, has been here and with us for at least in Western civilization for the last 80 or so years, at least cognizant of it. Although it's pretty clear whatever it is that we're dealing with has been around for probably thousands of years. And so it's pretty also clear that there is very little in the way of serious academic inquiry into it that is recognized as a field of study. One of the problems is there's lots of academics who are involved, but it's not an organized agenda as of yet. So our objective here is to bring together the many people that we know who are interested in this, start to organize it as a professional society, and then essentially write papers and study materials around the matter.
What kind of research will the Soul Foundation be doing specifically?
And to address Matt's question about what kind of research the Soul Foundation will be doing, let's take a look at their work and mission statement, which can be found on their official website, thesoulfoundation.org.
Soul's work and mission. As revelation of the reality of UAP would be world-changing in every sense of the term, the Foundation's work is not confined to purely academic research, but extends to advisory and policy work as well as public education. In sum, the Soul Foundation's mission is threefold. 1. To help fund and set a clear direction for the initial 25 years of public research related to UAP, non-human intelligences, and the implications of their existence for human understanding of nature, society, technology, and politics. In this, the Foundation intends to be the leading source of the best scientific, intellectual, and policy research on the issue.
Number 2 is to provide reliable, cutting-edge advisory research to the United States and other national governments as well as corporate clients. Soul will establish itself and remain the foremost think tank on UAP, the source of the most informed and insightful policy recommendations available.
3. To offer insights and guidance to the public on the cosmological and political implications of UAP, as humanity grows to understand that it is not the sole intelligence in the universe. Soul will share its perspectives on how humans might creatively respond to this new reality.
Next, let's take a look at their introductory video, which expands on this even further.
The Soul Foundation is an institute of research that funds and guides research in sciences, the social sciences, the humanities, and that also produces policy and advisory research that is aimed to illumine and help us clear up what's going on with the UAP issue and also prepare us to deal with the social implications of it.
I come from a tradition in science of taking from multiple different fields of science and thought simultaneously and synthesizing them into something new. You create and you invent. I'm a tinkerer by nature, and so here we are tinkering with the reality of what this might actually mean.
We also are putting together what we call a whole of society approach that engages all institutions and kinds of people so that we can deal with what may promise to be a very world-changing issue in a way that involves everyone.
Here you now have everybody realizing that it's possible to talk about this and that they're not going to be booed out of the room. Welcome to California. Welcome to Stanford. The objective here is to legitimize and professionalize and then to seek from you your ideas.
We know from our private life that finding a partner provides a meaning to our existence. The same holds for finding a partner in outer space. Suddenly, the universe will not appear to be lonely.
A lot of individuals who previously thought that they were alone in their thought or their belief system suddenly finding that they had many other individuals with whom they could speak. And so now the networks are forming, and we hope that this will catalyze an opportunity for others to basically step forward instead of us or along with us.
Not sure I'm aware of any sort of think tank organizations in recent years at the level of Soul. I mean, in terms of the people that they have attracted to the organization, not just the founders, but people associated with it, the people here at this conference. I've been going to conferences for 22 years, and I've never been to one at the level of this one. So I think it's really unique.
Everyone here in the audience has kind of praised it as the best event they've seen on this. And they've told us that everyone who needs to be here is here speaking, and that the audience is composed of just as many important people.
This is why we have the Soul Foundation. We need to basically create a parallel track of research and independent discoveries that aren't necessarily dependent on the U.S. government to provide us all the answers.
Before the space program, people felt that we couldn't even go into space, that human beings were tied to the Earth. Now we have over 500 people have actually flown in orbit, okay? And so it's not something that's unthinkable anymore. It's something people do. Okay? So the stigma has been removed.
Imagine if you could actually use some kind of technique to search for unidentified objects that are non-human. Our goal is to search for a specific, identifiable signature from an ET probe or non-human object.
It's an absolute perfect moment for Sol to get involved because we need policymakers to be advised on this, right? I mean, they want to do the right thing. There are many members of Congress who want more transparency, but the more information they can get from the brilliant people associated with Sol, the better it is. So I think the moment is perfect.
The fact that they're acknowledging it, whereas before, there's been rumors that NASA didn't want to do anything and other people didn't. But I think there's kind of like a crescendo or something's coming where now we can all get behind it. And I think if we can get this into more mainstream academia, I think it will help with a lot.
The more academics that are writing papers, the broader the base of interest is going to become. And I think that's another really important aspect of what Sol is doing.
One learns when one gets in this field is that you end up with more collaborators, more supporters, and more offers of help than you would get if you were working on something conventional.
What they're really just trying to do is foster a coalition of the willing to properly identify what's going on. I think there's been other groups that have done this, but not at the scale of which Sol is trying to do this.
The Sol Foundation is something that we've all been dreaming for a long time, and I think it's the appropriate way to call attention to the problem and to gather the energy that we're going to need to go forward.
Anybody who brings something forward in a manner that is logical and non-hyperbolic, we want to hear from them.
The influence that Sol can have in terms of bringing in the academic community and drawing these people in and creating papers that academics can read, it's going to expand the base of people that become aware of this situation, of the UAP issue, and it might draw in other intelligent people that haven't been exposed to it so far.
When this conversation develops and when the issue develops, we're always there to provide answers because we were asking the questions that people are today 5-10 years before.
We're on the precipice of feeling that we are both smaller and larger than what we thought we were before. Smaller in that there's a greater sense of intelligences that might be out there, and so therefore we're one of many. But so that can make you feel small, but then bigger by knowing that you're as part of a community.
Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
There are so many brilliant minds that are involved in the Sol Foundation. It is highly impressive. I mean, Gary Nolan, David Grush, Leslie Keane, Dr. Diana Pasolka. You've got Jacques Vallée. You've got, I mean, if you even look in the audience, Jesse Michael was there. He's a YouTuber. Jesse Michael was there. So it's just like, I'm just thoroughly impressed with the fact that all the people on stage, the presenters, he's a scientist, that the people that are on the stage are guiding lights in this field, and then the people in the audience are also guiding lights in this field. So for me, the Sol Foundation gives me tremendous hope because I feel like they're going to bring something to the table that the UAP UFO world has not seen before.
Yep. I totally agree with that. It's pretty amazing to me to see this level of caliber of people that have gotten together, and decided to take a serious look at this UAP issue.
Right. And they're not just hoarding the information for themselves either. That's the point, is they want to bring in all these mainstream academia type of people that normally wouldn't have looked at or haven't looked at this stuff in the past. But now we're going to get fresh eyes and fresh perspectives. And it just makes the ripple effect even larger, even bigger. The reach is going to be bigger. There's going to be more serious people taking this seriously. The stop has not happened on the train yet. We're still going, people. We're still going.
Let's keep going. Yeah. For those of you that want to check out the rest of the Sol videos, it's on their YouTube page.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend that you go and watch all of them.
Same. And the link for that will be in the video description box down below. So make sure to check that out.
Yep.
So Bob Lazar spilt the tea way back when, but the question is he willing to do it again?
I hope so.
Me too. Up next, we have the highlights from an extended, never seen before scene of Bob Lazar going into detail about how UFOs are designed and how they operate. And this came from Jeremy Corbell's YouTube show Weaponized. And then the clip finishes up with a clip from TMZ's UFO Revolution, showing us where Bob's head is at regarding the possibility of him testifying before Congress on this topic.
These gravity emitters can be swung all the way up to 180 degrees. And this allows the craft to essentially stand on two of them and hover, while this one swings up and creates a distortion in front of it, allowing the craft to slide forward. Unlike science fiction movies where you see flying saucers just flying along like that, they actually fly belly first. The craft flies along, leaves the atmosphere of the planet. It turns its belly to the destination. The three amplifiers focus in on the destination, and that's how it proceeds. There were 3 seats in here, and just around the reactor. There were no controls, no buttons, no anything. Everything has a nice smooth curve to it. There are no right angles anywhere. Everything is exactly the same color. And whether it's metal or some other advanced material, I don't know. Again, that was part of the metallurgy division. And all I can say is it felt cold like metal. But its actual composition, who knows, it was ceramic or, again, some advanced alloy or something along those lines. But the manufacturing technique is unknown, and certainly was back then. Today, 30 years later, there are things like 3D printing, and now that kind of begins to make sense because it looks like this craft was just built from the ground up, like a 3D printer. And that would be about the only way to produce some of the things we saw, because there were no fasteners anywhere. It was just all together, not even a seam. So I don't know. How that was actually assembled is a good question, but I bet it was something along those lines, some gigantic printing mechanism or something we would consider a printing mechanism that actually put this together. The opening port was like a hexagon honeycomb with an edge cut out. And if you grab the edge and just pushed a little bit, the honeycombs would all collapse, some sort of flexible metal, and all snap open. And I remember saying to myself, that's something we could make today. That's really, because it has a lot of strength standing on it, but no strength the other way. So you can pop it open, use it as an access port, snap it closed, and it would support weight on it. The other fascinating thing was it was essentially a pipe. I mean, if you want to just give you analogies, these gravity emitters look like 55-gallon drums. And a big, I'd say 4-inch diameter pipe, maybe 10 inches long, maybe a little longer, connected the top of the drum to the floor above. It's a solid, thick pipe. Somehow, they were able to manipulate the structure of that pipe where it would just bend, as if it was made of clay. So they can apply some form of control to it and have a solid piece of pipe move like a tentacle. So they can get very fine movements and adjust and point these things wherever they were, and then stop stimulating the stuff, and they were locked in place like it was welded on there with a giant pipe. It was essentially a set of archways which were extruded from the wall all around. And we later found these out to be, I guess this is a big thing I should touch on. We found these to be waveguides. And this is how the gravity field was being manipulated. It almost looked like it was just a design element, but it became very obvious that nothing here was done for aesthetics. Everything had a functional purpose. One of them was different. And the one time I was in there, there were other people also working on there in their own particular group. They activated this by some means, and we could see from inside, we could see right through that. I guess a modern day analogy would be electrochromatic glass, where it's normally opaque, some energy is applied to it and becomes transparent. And whatever the other group was doing, this panel here underneath this archway became transparent, and we can see the hangar outside. they also did something else, and we can see something. The only thing I can relate it to is some sort of writing, some kind of symbols like that. I'm assuming that's some sort of written language. I really don't know.
This is an alien spacecraft.
Right, obviously.
Another entity had to make this.
Right.
Look, man, he made an appearance in the 3-part Tubi special that you and I were in, and I think people should watch that. You know, he had some possible fighting words, and I like that. Man, I just wish, like, when we started Weaponized, I always thought if anybody's going to interview Bob Lazar again, because he hasn't gone on a long-form interview or anything since Joe Rogan back in 2018, when he reluctantly came with me on the Rogan podcast. And like, man, I got this good feeling, this really good feeling that we're going to hear more from Bob Lazar this year.
Maybe. What do you got cooking?
That's what I was
talking
wondering.
about?
Yeah.
Look, man, I can't confirm nor deny nothing, not until we know for sure. But I'm feeling like this. I'm feeling like there's more to learn and understand from Bob beyond just like learning who he is, which I feel like my movie did. Like you get a sense of like who he is, but just his words to me at the end of that Tubi special, UFO Revolution, that one. People should watch it. It's really good. It's free. I'll put links in the description. But like, I'm proud of that one. But he said some things, and it was just like, I just got this glimmer. I saw this glimmer in his eye as a friend. You know, we see that sometimes, and I'm like, what's this guy gonna do? And I think we might find out soon. Would you talk in front of Congress if I set that up? Would you give your testimony under those same circumstances under oath? Would you throw down one last time?
I fought the fight for 30 years, and I'm kind of happy the way it is now. The last thing I want to do is stir the pot again. So yeah. I can say under oath everything I said before is true, and that's all there is to it.
This story is never going away, Bob. You're always going to be the touchstone for people, as you were one of the first people to come forward and just put it all on the line. Unwillingly, I understand, but you did that, so it's never going away. So even though it's small to you, it's big to other people when you just take a moment and talk to us about it like this. So thanks again, man. I appreciate it.
Well, no problem. I mean, I do want this stuff to come out, but I don't know, if the mood takes me, I may come out fighting again.
Oh.
There it is. There it is.
Yep.
I'm going to put it out into the universe now that we will be hearing from Bobby Lazar in 2024. I know Jeremy Corbell's not going to let that loose. He's going to hold on to that, grip it tight, and make sure it happens. And when it does, I will be sitting here with popcorn and tea ready to go, because I mean, basically we've already heard Bob Lazar's story, right? I mean, he just gave detailed descriptions about how the craft is created, what the functions of its components are, you know, how it like he basically laid it out and told us a whole bunch of stuff.
Some of that stuff I had actually heard before from some of Bob's other things that he's done, but the whole thing about the pipe bending kind
with
of
the
like
tentacle
clay,
situation, right?
that's new. That was new to me.
Okay.
You know? As far the craft flying on its belly, I've heard that before.
Yep, I've heard that too. I just wanted to take the highlights from that episode in case somebody in our audience has not heard of Bob Lazar or heard his story. That was like a really good mashup of like the highlights of everything.
Right.
So yeah, I hope it. I'm gonna speak it into
that.
existence. I'm not gonna say hope. I'm gonna speak it into existence that we will be covering Bob Lazar later on this year after he comes forward again.
Yeah, that would be such a treat.
Yes.
In my mind.
Yep. I mean, he talked about so many things, and like when we covered Nico last time from Jack with Cosmic Road, Nico was also talking about how the people that he heard from in these reverse engineering programs were talking about the material that these craft were made from. And the hardest part about trying to recreate these things is that we can't produce the material. They're laid out layer by layer on a molecular level of all these different things, right? On all these different metals. And Bob Lazar said himself, you know, this is an alloy we're unaware of. So I don't know. It's just like so many things are connecting. I'm hearing a lot of echoes of the same information, which validates it for me. And I'm just excited.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited for you guys to hear about the story that we have coming up.
Same. Oh, so let's get into that. Good segue.
Did we just get proof of reverse engineered craft? Twitter user Chris tweets, Lockheed Martin can grow the skin of an aircraft that contains sensors and stores energy without any wires. Data flows through the structure. And that's pretty reminiscent to what Bob Lazar just said.
That's why I tie these things together the way I do.
They have new materials that can change shape on command,
Say
like
what?
a muscular material. So just like the pipe, moving the gravity
Yes,
emitters
sir. Yes,
around.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
They can make autonomous aircraft that change shape and make swarms of small ones that learn and interact with a larger vehicle. So let's take a look at a video produced by Lockheed Martin showing us these highly advanced aircrafts.
Check this shit out.
Do things like embed the carbon nanotubes to make conductive structure so that information doesn't flow through a wire next to a structure, but literally flows through the structure.
We'll be able to grow or make a structure.
Wow, that's amazing.
I mean, if that doesn't give you like reverse engineered craft vibes, you're numb.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That just speaks volumes to me. But anyways, so in a clip from News Nation, we hear Lockheed Martin's response to the inquiry of the existence of UAPs.
Here, this is what they said. They told us here in a very short statement in response, quote, questions about UAPs are best addressed by the U.S. government. Notably, Elizabeth, that is not a denial. So we thought that was rather interesting. And again, we don't have any hard or concrete evidence to show that these contractors are actually doing this activity, trying to reverse engineer UAPs or keeping them. But that is at the heart of the allegation that David Grush and others have made now under oath in that congressional hearing. So obviously, you know, that is a major deal. Now, members of Congress have been bringing this up, asking the question whether these contractors are not only doing this kind of work, but also whether there are funds that were meant for the Pentagon for other programs that are being diverted to these contractors to do this type of thing. So those are the questions that remain that lawmakers say they promised to hunt down. And obviously, Elizabeth, we are also going to be keeping on them to see what kind of answers they get. And we will keep on trying to answer those questions ourselves.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if members of Congress get more of an answer than you did. I'm not sure they will, but we shall see.
So is non-denial a confirmation? What do you think?
You know, it seems like the answer to that question was a redirect and
Yep. They said
putting it
swoop.
right. Basically, it's somebody else's problem. Go ask them.
Literally,
you know?
literally.
Yeah.
Right. But when you look at the video of the type of craft that they're producing and coming up with and the terminology even that they're using, you know, skin and swarm, I don't know. That just like you could tell. Gosh,
You know, yeah. Is it conceivable, you know, that we could have thought of this technology on our own? Sure. You know, anybody could have that thought, right?
Yeah,
You can
especially with
logically
the little
make
seed
that
thing.
conclusion, right?
Right.
But, you know, with everything that's being put out, you know, into the public realm or the knowledge base, right?
Mhm.
It kind of makes sense that, you know, they are working on something exotic, you know, and
Yep.
this has sparked, you know, engineers' interest to try to figure out how some of these technologies work and to see if they can replicate them. And if, you know,
Mhm.
they've made some progress or, you know, some breakthroughs, then this would be the logical evolution of those programs, right?
Yep.
We would start to see some of these technologies coming out.
So
Makes sense. It makes sense in my mind that could be what's going on.
I come to the same conclusions. And what I was just about to say is that let us know in the comments below what you think. Did we just get proof of reverse engineered craft? Is non-denial a confirmation? Drop us a comment down below and let us know what you think.
Mhm.
And while we're talking about UFOs, since that's the theme of the show, let's get an update about the Alaskan UFO.
Remember last year when a series of 3 UAPs were seen and shot down and we got little to no information regarding their origin,
I do.
purpose, or whether or not they were retrieved after being blasted out of the sky?
Yep.
Well, good old Ross Cohart comes to the rescue with new information specifically regarding the Alaskan UAP in this clip from his podcast called Need to Know.
And let me give you something just off the press, Bryce. This is the weird narrative that's going on at the moment. I'm quoting here literally from a source who's just contacted me confidentially to confirm something that you and I first spoke about a month or two ago. You'll all remember that we did a story, and I did it also on News Nation, where we talked about the Alaska UAP object. And I said definitively that sources of mine were telling me that the Alaska object was anomalous. I didn't have a lot of information at the time, but I now do. I've just received this. The Pentagon tracked the Alaska object, confirmed that it was a silver cylindrical UAP and not a balloon. The president, Joe Biden, ordered the shoot done, and multiple assets were involved with the recovery. HC-130, F-16s for cover, and OGA black helicopters. That's a direct quote from somebody who has a source in the Pentagon, and he says that he is 100% certain of this account.
Wow, that's pretty telling.
Yeah, Ross came through, man. Ross came through. He's like, guess what? This just in. We shot that shit down and they lied to us because they were basically like, oh, you know, it got covered up in a bunch of snow. We can't go retrieve it. It's not safe, blah, 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 yada, yada.
Yeah, meanwhile.
Yes. Meanwhile, back at the Batcave, they used military to go retrieve it, and they straight up lied to our faces by saying, oh, we couldn't go get it, but yet there's like this whole convoy of military units, I think is what he called them.
Remember we covered the Office of Global Access, the OGA within the CIA?
Show did.
Right. The lore is they are the ones responsible for going and recovering UAP or anything exotic, right?
Operation UFO cleanup is basically what the OGA is.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty good, Ross. Thanks.
I know, right? There's UFOs and then there's USOs. Fish aren't the only thing in the sea, people. On February 6th, 2024, Darcy Weir Films tweeted, @Tim Gallaudet, "My new documentary, Transmedium, is coming out in March. I'm proud of the research and work that went into making this film. Many interesting perspectives and facts presented regarding the phenomena in and around our oceans. Please share and support. You asked, you shall receive. Let's check it out."
Darcy Weir is an independent researcher and filmmaker who has traveled around the world to study the UFO phenomenon.
Back in August of 2020, under a shroud of secrecy, the UAP task force was clandestinely brought into existence within the shadows of the enigmatic U.S. Department of Defense. My questions regarding this phenomenon led me to American oceanographer and retired Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet. How long did you serve for the Navy and work for NOAA?
I served in the Navy for 32 years, and I then worked for NOAA after that for about 3.5 years. They're coming from somewhere. We don't know how they're doing what they're doing, and we don't know their intentions. So all I can say is this deserves a significant amount of study of our oceans, and that's what I'm pursuing right now.
When you hear about Navy submarine seamen witnessing or noticing on sonar USO activity, objects that are moving, 300 knots plus.
I won't use the gentleman's name, even though he's mentioned it publicly and it has been in print, that during some testing in on the Los Angeles class improved 688, Los Angeles class fast tug submarine, the USS Hampton, I think it's SSN 767, they were doing something new with the sonar, and an object was being picked up on sonar as a fast mover, and it went zipping by them. And the sonar operator said that went by us and in excess of 800 miles an hour.
Now, I heard through the grapevine that you had a experience with what some people call a fast mover in the Navy. Can you?
Yes, I can tell you about that. What are your thoughts on the USO situation? I mean, I film here nightly, and it's almost every night you catch something that you can't explain. Why do you think that the water is so important to these craft? What's it about our oceans that attract them to it?
Personally, I believe that they exist. They reside in our oceans. I believe that they have bases or underground facilities.
There is, in my view, based on the data of USO activity, there is a very good reason to believe that there are multiple undersea bases that these things operate at. Yes. Now, and some of them would be definitely off the coast in South America on the Atlantic side. I don't think there's any question in my mind. There's been too many of those types of cases. So you're talking about a global presence. What are they doing? What's going on?
I was trying to get over my seasickness by sitting in the sonar section, and the sonar side is control room is here. Okay, and off to the right side is a little tiny aisle, and that aisle is where the sonars are. So I was sitting at one of the sonars that was active, but there was nobody manning it. There was a kid next to me on the right, and he was manning his sonar. And basically, I was trying to just zone out and get rid of my seasickness, and I was feeling much better actually. It was helping me. And all of a sudden, I'm jolted awake by the kid calling the con, the command, and said, con sonar, fast mover, fast mover. And I woke up thinking, what the heck? We're going to be killed. We're going to die. I'm going to die out here by a torpedo or something. Because to me, I was thinking fast mover meant torpedo. And the executive officer comes around and he sits over the kid's shoulder and he says, what do you got? And I mean, it's loud on a sub, so you got to keep in mind, it's loud. It's not like it's very quiet. They always make it sound like, oh, it's very quiet. Yeah, from the outside. But inside, you've got high pressure air, you've got noise, you got people talking, you got machinery. But the Navy prides itself on that sound not getting out. So anyway, I couldn't hear everything he said, the bearing, the range, where it was basically. But when it came to the speed, I leaned forward on the edge of my seat, which was locked down to the floor. And I had just a tiny little bit of my butt on the seat because I was way over just trying to listen in. And when the kid told him how fast it was moving, I think all three of us were dumbfounded. Me by eavesdropping, and the other two by, the kid never saw something like this before, but the XO I think had. And because the kid said, and when the XO asked, how fast is it moving? And the kid said, several hundred knots, sir.
Damn.
And the executive officer just said, okay, log it and dog it. And
Right.
he was almost relieved, Paul. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what that meant. I think maybe I was reading into it. I didn't know at the time. So anyway, I got up and I went over to the executive officer because after all, hey, I was invited to be on this sub. I was a big, important person, right? I walked over to the executive officer and I said, XO, I know what these fast mover things are. Maybe I can help you. And he put his hand on my shoulder and said, Mr. D'Antonio, are you having a good time so far? Yes, sir, I am. Let's keep it that way. And he walked away. Okay. I just shrunk down. I was like, okay, I'll just hide over here in the corner. Thank you. It's like, embarrassing. And so I kind of learned that even by invitation, you can't get to see everything, even if you have the right clearance, which I did. But it's only a need to know thing. So anyway, a couple of years later, I had to do a job for a very powerful group in Washington, the Joint Chiefs of Staff. They advised the President of the United States. And when I did the project, I had to deliver it. And I delivered it to one of the members who turned out to become a friend. And I asked him in the privacy of his own home, what can you tell me about this fast mover program? And he looked at me and he goes, I can't talk about that program, Mark. I'm sorry. He could have said, what program? I never heard of that.
Is non-denial confirmation?
And I was just stunned. Right. So he basically said nothing but said everything. So that's the story. And that's, you can't make this stuff up. And the story is the same as I've told it, a few years now. And the only reason I told it at all without any kind of fear is because the Russians have come out and said this, and as you'll see, as you're going to talk about, Paul, other navies have also experienced these unknown submerged objects as well.
There you have it, people. There you have it. I mean, so that Darcy Weir film called Transmedium is coming out in March. So that's next month. And that clip that we saw of Mark, that was from a different UFO show that I found from like 5 years ago or whatever, where he was actually describing being in the sub, witnessing this for himself. And I'm sorry, but it just reiterates the point that we just made the story before is non-denial confirmation, because it's like, when he asked the guy about the Fast Walker program, he didn't say, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Right. He was like, look, man, I can't speak on that. Right. I can't speak on that. Not with you anyways. So there it is. There it is.
Yeah, it's
and
it's pretty amazing. It's like these people, how can there be so many people, right? Let's suppose that, there's skeptics out there that want to call this whole thing one gigantic psyop, right? And how can that many people, who don't even know each other, all be entangled in the same psyop, right? That doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't resonate. What makes sense to me is these things are actually happening and it's real, and little tidbits are leaking out.
And it's not just from our government, like he said. It's not just the United States of
Yeah.
America. It's South America.
Right.
It's Russia. It's China. It's a bunch of people. Anybody that lives on planet Earth, basically, at some point in time. And speaking of planet Earth, here's a food for thought that I want you to munch on mentally. Hear me out. The Earth is comprised of 70% ocean. 70%. And out of that 70%, 80% of that, we have never mapped it, explored it, nor has it ever been seen by humans.
That we know of.
That we know of. That we know of. But 70% of the Earth is made of ocean, and 80% of that 70% hasn't been seen, mapped, or hung out in by human beings, supposedly. So what does that tell you about the possibility of there being alien bases down there? I mean, we ain't been down there, so who's to say there's not?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, think about the country that you grew up in, right? Okay, and let's just say the United States, for example, because that's where we grew up.
Okay.
You know, think of how vast our country is,
Mhm.
right? I mean, it's enormous, right? And when you look at the size of our country in relation to the size of the oceans, you know, there's like so much more ocean out there than there is, land. I mean, it's mind-boggling to think that we could explore, or to think that we have explored all the oceans. You know, we haven't. You know,
No,
there's
certainly not.
right. I mean, there's so much unexplored sea bottom out there. You know that yes, there could be things hiding in plain sight, so to speak. Right.
Literally. I mean, shout out to Avatar Waterworld.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. You know, it's like think of like a military base. How easily it would be to hide it somewhere, right, in the oceans.
Hanging out with Ariel and Ursula.
I mean,
I'm sorry, I use
Yeah,
humor
there's-
as a way to cope, people.
I think there's definitely unexplored, or I think there's definitely probably some bases in the water. I don't know.
So let us know in the comments section down below if you think that these USOs are hanging out under the sea with Ariel, Ursula, and Flounder, and if you think that there could also possibly be bases down there.
Who knows?
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
And last but not least, another upcoming UAP conference in 2024. In an article published February 16th, website Ein Presswire states, today, the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies released the following announcement. The SCU is pleased to announce the 2024 Annual Anomalous Aerospace Phenomena Conference, AAPC, will return to Huntsville, Alabama from May 31st to June 2nd, 2024. The upcoming conference will feature the option of attending in person at the Rocket City Tavern and Conference Center or virtually online.
Advancing the scientific study of UAP is at the heart of our organization, and our annual conference is part of that mission, said Executive Board member Rich Hoffman. Quote, this year's gathering is a continuation of our tradition of bringing scientists and academics together to discuss our shared interest in an enigmatic global phenomenon, end quote. The 2024 AAPC will feature an extraordinary lineup of scientists and academics. Australian investigative journalist, author of In Plain Sight, and 5-time winner of the prestigious Walkley Award, Ross Coulthart, will kick off the conference on Friday, May 31st with a keynote speech.
Quote, SCU could not be more excited to host this conference and explore one of the most perplexing issues facing humanity in a scientific, fact-based way, end quote, said Robert Powell, SCU Executive Board member. Ticket sales and additional information about the 2024 AAPC will be available on March 1st, 2024.
The link to this website, along with all other sources used for this show, can be found in the description box below, so be sure to check that out. Any conference that involves good old Ross Coulthart as a speaker catches my attention. So I figured I would throw that out there for you guys in case you wanted to buy some tickets to view it online, or if you wanted to show up in person and see it for yourself.
Yeah.
And that concludes this week's UAP Society's UAP and UFO News Show. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. And while you're here, do us a favor, smash that like button, click subscribe, ring our little notification bell, drop a lovely comment down below, and share this video with your family and friends to help us spread the good word. Let's raise the collective consciousness together in unity. All right, give me that heart.
Yep.
Much love. Peace and namaste.
To that, I have a very simple answer. Reality itself is not a concept. Reality is, and we won't give it a name.